Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem, a loving community where the inherent worth and dignity of everyone is cherished, a place where a person may explore their gifts and talents and be nurtured by a caring community, a place where disagreements may occur with the knowledge that they can also be worked out as we each search for our own truth and meaning in life. Thank you for being a member here today of this community, whether virtually or in person, and welcome.
Our gathering hymn this morning is Do You Hear? It's number 112 in the gray hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit. Do you hear, oh my friend, in the place where you stand, through the sky, through the land? Do you hear, in the heights on the plain, in the vale on the main, in the sun, in the rain? Do you hear, do you hear? Through the roar, through the rush, through the throng, through the crush, do you hear in the hush of your soul, of your soul? Hear the cry, fear won't still, hear the heart's call to will, hear a sigh's startling trill in your soul, in your soul. From the place where you stand to the outermost strand, do you hear, oh my friend? Do you hear, do you hear? All the dreams, all the dares, all the sighs, all the prayers, they are yours, mine and theirs. Do you hear, do you hear? Rose, harsh rose, marred and with stint of petals, meager flower, thin, sparse of leaf. More precious than a wet rose, single on stem, you are caught in the drift. Stunted with small leaf, you are flung on the sand. You are lifted in the crisp sand that drives in the wind. Can the spice rose drip such acrid fragrance, hardened in a leaf?
an adaptation of the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. Make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is sadness, joy. Where there is darkness, light. Grant that I not so much seek to be consoled, but to console, to be understood as to understand, and to love as to be loved. Or should we reverse that? To be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, is it in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in giving to life that we may truly live. Let us remember this as we say our affirmation together. Love is our doctrine. Compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration. Build a community of caring fellowship. Nurture the hopes and serve the needs of our world. Each week we light 3 chalices. The first is for those of us here in this congregation and watching virtually, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem. The second chalice we light for our partner church in Cimafalva, Transylvania, Romania, where Reverend Shandor says he is getting ready to retire this fall and has a new home that they are excited to move into. Just had to tell you that. And then our last chalice we light for our children and youth in religious education and in the world at large. A quote from Leslie Powell Kuspel: "Flame of fire, spark of the universe that warmed our ancestral hearth, agent of life and earth, symbol of truth and freedom, we strive to understand ourselves and our earthly home." Please join me in singing The Flame into Life.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy.
So religious education is starting live now, and Lily, as the director, has a very exciting things happening outside in the tent. I kind of wish we all could go there. Maybe we can one Sunday before she stops doing that. And she's up here going to introduce a new ritual that we've started.
Hello, welcome to Time for All Ages. I can have all the children come down now, please. Come on down. We're going to make a circle right about here, okay? So that way the people at home who are watching on the video can see how cute all of you are. We're going to make a circle about right here, okay? And we're going to do the rocks. Hi, Zoe. Hi, Scarlett. Hi, Maddie. Okay, guys, you know this, right? Who wants to go first today? Oh, wait, Scarlett said first. Okay, so this is Scarlett, and she chose the word happy today. And we've got Zoe, who found excited, and Maddie has cool. Okay, so here we go. Elsie, right? Imagination. And how about Owen? Oh, yay! Owen? Hands are getting so full. Owen, you got inspire. It's a red one. And what's your name? Hi, AJ. I'm Lily. It's nice to meet you. Will you want to pick a rock from our basket before we go play? All right. AJ got happy. All right, you guys. So today we're going to go outside and we're going to play a fun game called the Sleeping Bear, and then we're going to go on a journey and make journey sticks, okay? So you guys ready to go play outside in the woods? All right. Then you can follow me. Take this. All right, here we go.
And don't worry, we're going to get the love arch back here soon. Very nice. Thank you. Compassion. Compassion begets the need to help. To help others first comes to mind, even before the idea of helping ourselves. Yet sometimes when we see the need to reach out, we feel unsure of our connection to the other and our ability to help. In the book, How Can I Help? By Ram Dass and Paul Gorman, Albert Einstein is quoted as saying, "A human being is part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He or she experiences themselves, thoughts and feelings as something separate from the rest, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty." Ram Dass suggests that we work on ourselves then in order to help others, and we help others in order to work on ourselves. Compassion works both ways. And gratitude. Gratitude for the wise words from people before us, words that fill us with inspiration, as well as words that make us think about how we see the world around us. Not only words can inspire, but acts of kindness can inspire us as well. Inspire to reach out and to get to know someone new, learn about their lives, their struggles and joys, and with that, we too may grow. We are grateful for those experiences and grateful to all who teach and inspire us through their words and actions. May we continue to walk the path of compassion and gratitude. So 2 people wrote something on our website for our joys and concerns. I'm so glad, something that they did, and we hope that everyone continues to do that so that we may know. Ed Kramer wrote that Cecilia Craig has moved to a new place, to Windsor Health and Rehab, and she would love having visitors if you feel like going. That'd be wonderful. And then Marge French turned 98 last week. Can you believe it? Of course, Lorraine Stewart can believe it, but the rest of us, that's a big deal. She attributes 40 years at this congregation to help her health and vitality. So let us light a candle for those 2 people.
Our pastoral hymn today is Children of the Human Race. It's number 302 in the gray hymnal. You may remain seated. Children of the human race, offspring of our Mother Earth, not alone in endless space has our planet given birth. Far across the cosmic skies, countless suns in glory blaze, and from untold planets rise endless canticles of praise. Should some sign of others reach this our lonely planet Earth, differences of form and speech must not hide our common worth. When at length our minds are free and the clouds of fear disperse, then at last we'll learn to be children of the universe.
From Matthew, chapter 25, verses 35 through 40. For I was hungry, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see thee hungry and feed thee, or thirsty and give thee drink? When did we see thee a stranger and looked in thee, or naked and clothed thee? Or when did we see thee sick or in prison and come unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, ye have done it unto me.
From the time I was a little girl, I was fascinated with people who were different than me. People of different races, people with glasses or hearing aids, people with guide dogs, and people with physical disabilities. People with physical disabilities used wheelchairs, walkers, canes, and leg braces. Maybe it was the equipment that caught my attention, or maybe it was the people. I was a very social child and went up and talked to everyone. But, like I said, the differences are what intrigued me. Once I got to know someone, whatever the difference was became invisible to me. As I grew up and realized these same people were passed by and not given the same courtesies as you and I decided I needed to do something about it. When I was in high school, our youth group leader at the church that I grew up in decided that we needed to do some service projects, in addition to the traditional social time common to high school youth groups. Our leader knew the volunteer coordinator at Fairview Training Hospital, and it was decided that a fairly simple task we could do was to push wheelchairs to chapel once a month. I lived not too far from Fairview. I could see it from my driveway, but I didn't really know anything about it. I guess I was up for pushing a wheelchair to chapel once a month. How hard could it be? Wow. I had no idea what I had just agreed to do. When I arrived at Fairview on the assigned day, I was completely unprepared for what I saw and heard. These people, residents they were called, were loud, and they drooled, and they smelled, and I didn't want them anywhere near me. But I relented and did what I had set out to do. I pushed a wheelchair across that campus and to the chapel. It turned out to be a day I would never forget. Several months later, our youth group leader talked again with the volunteer coordinator at Fairview and signed us up again to go to Fairview one Saturday night in October to host a Halloween party for the residents of Magruder Cottage. Again, I had no idea what I had signed up for, and boy, was I in for a surprise. We arrived at the designated time with cookies and apple juice and some cassette tapes of Halloween music. We had to feed these people. As a high school sophomore, I was completely shocked by what I was being expected to do. So I found a resident sitting by herself and went over to her with a cookie and a cup of juice. I began to help her eat the cookie and drink the juice. Something that really shocked me was that I wasn't grossed out like most of my friends were. Over the years, I continued to volunteer at Fairview. I visited with the residents, and it didn't seem so bad. After all, they were just people like me who just happened to live their lives at Fairview. I even made some friends there. One girl about my age, I'll call her Julie, had been at Fairview since she was 2 due to severe, spastic, quadriplegic cerebral palsy. I visited Julie as often as I could. We talked about all sorts of things that teenage girls would talk about, even though her speech could be difficult to understand. But after spending enough time with her, I understood. Julie even got to come to my high school graduation, which was a monumental undertaking. But Julie came in a beautiful red dress and yelling for me almost as loud as my brother when I walked across the stage to receive my diploma. Several years later, I got a letter. Yes, not an email, because this was in the late 80s, inviting me to participate in hosting a Fairview resident at the Oregon State Fair. I signed myself up as quickly as I could. Why did I voluntarily decide to participate? Because it's what I was supposed to do. All the time I spent at Fairview, volunteering and interacting with the people, notice that I didn't call them residents, was the beginning of a long and extremely satisfying journey. Ask anyone who knows me, and they will tell you that I am extremely passionate about what I do. What I do is work with children with special needs in the schools. I advocate to make sure that any student I'm with is getting everything that any other student in the school without special needs is getting. Why? Why do I put myself out there to be the voice for my students to get fair and equal educational opportunities? Because they're children, like any other children, who are just as important and worthy of the same dignity as anybody else. The inherent worth and dignity of every person is our Unitarian Universalist first principle. These words guide me, as do the rest of our 7 principles, in making choices to benefit my life and for the benefit of the world around me. If I see someone who is different than me, wait. I don't see people who are different. I see people. When I'm out and about, I'll say hello to most people who cross my path. Sometimes, though, I may not be feeling very social and I won't acknowledge everybody. But if someone talks to me, I will respond and then be drawn into conversation with them. One day, several years ago, I was out on a Saturday morning shopping at Walmart. I saw a couple of young men in wheelchairs with a couple of women pushing their chairs. One of the young men said hi to me. I said, "Hi, how are you doing?" He said with garbled speech, "I'm here shopping at Walmart." I said, "I am too." He said, "I have some money and I'm gonna buy something." I said, "Wow, you are lucky to have money. I hope you have fun finding something that you want to buy." I was about to carry on with my shopping when I noticed that the woman pushing his chair was crying. I asked if she was okay. She said, "I've been bringing John here for lots of years, and he loves to talk to people. Most people ignore him and walk right by. You are the first person who's ever answered him. You have made my day and his. Bless you." Wow. I didn't think I was doing anything special. I was just talking to another person. After my time at Fairview, when I was about 18, 19, I started seriously thinking about going to college and what I wanted to become. I decided that what I wanted to be was a special education teacher. I didn't realize fully what was involved in reaching this goal. I began attending college, going to classes and learning. As time went on, and as I got further and further into the program, I came to the conclusion that this really wasn't what I wanted to be doing. So I stopped going to college, and my husband and I decided to start a family. Years later, when the younger of my 2 sons started first grade, I decided it was time to find a job. my best friend had recently started working for the school district as an inclusion assistant. She described to me what and who was involved, and I decided that this was the job for me. So I applied to the Hillsborough School District and was contacted to interview, and lo and behold, they hired me. This was the beginning of my career and was quite a while ago, as the son I previously mentioned has recently turned 30. I have continued working now in the Salem-Keizer School District and continue to advocate and make sure that my students are getting the best that they can. I hope that I'm making an impact in their lives as they are in mine. One particular student is Logan. He recently turned 17 and will be a senior in high school this coming school year. I met Logan when he was in the 6th grade. Together, Logan and I developed quite a relationship. Logan is unable to move his body when he wants to and needs to use a wheelchair. He depends on others to meet all of his basic needs, helping him to eat, taking medication, helping with personal hygiene, helping to make sure that his body is moved and positioned as the physical therapist prescribes, helping him to be comfortable, and helping him to communicate. Communication with a person like Logan can be a series of trials and errors, figuring out how he can answer simple yes and no questions. Logan and I were working on some of his communication goals, and I asked him a question. I very carefully watched to see how he would respond. He moved his eyes up and to the right. At first, I thought I was imagining it. I asked the same question again, and he did the same thing again. And finally, a third time when I asked, he responded the same way. I had figured out his yes. I said, "Okay, Logan, are you telling me yes?" And again, he made the same eye movement. I said, "Okay, Logan, now we need to figure out your no." I asked another question, and he looked down and to the left. I asked the question again, and he did it again. I asked one final time, and again he responded the same way. I said, "Logan, are you telling me no?" He looked up and to the right. Yes. So I started asking him questions that I knew the answers to, and he answered correctly. I had figured out his yes and no. Logan could now tell people yes and no. But what it took was time and patience to let Logan have time to process and then to give his answer. Discovering this was a big help to Logan and his mom. Being able to tell her what he wanted and didn't want, or what he liked and didn't like. Logan now had a way to communicate. When I'm not at school, during the summers or on weekends during the school year, I am still busy working to do what I can to help improve the lives of people with special needs. During the summer for the past 10 years, I've been involved in a camp for adults with developmental disabilities. It's a church camp that allows them to participate in standard camp experiences: swimming, boating, arts and crafts, music, and campfires, complete with s'mores. They are there for 4 days and go home with memories that will hopefully sustain them until the next year. One summer at Camp Hope, I had a camper named Summer. She had difficulty with her body and used a power wheelchair to get around. On s'more night, Summer really wanted to make a s'more. So I got her set up with a marshmallow on a stick, and she set about attempting to roast it. The first didn't make it. It fell into the fire. So we tried again and again. Suffice it to say, it took several marshmallows before we finally had the perfect one. We got the graham cracker and the chocolate and smooshed that marshmallow in between the crackers, and she had the perfect s'more. Another niche that I've discovered for myself is providing respite care, mostly for young people that have been students of mine. I am a certified personal support worker, or PSW, through Marion County Developmental Disabilities Services. I go into the homes and help with activities of daily living, and sometimes we go out into the community. One person that I've been working with for several years is Dana. Dana is a girl affected by spina bifida. She was adopted from China 4 years ago at the age of 10. I met her and her family when I was working at Straub Middle School. I learned that because of her seizures, which are common to people with spina bifida, no one in their family felt comfortable taking care of her so that her parents could have time together. I became a person that, because of my background, I was able to safely provide care so that her parents could have a night out. I became her Brenna and began a very special relationship with Dana. Less than a year after coming home from China, Dana suffered a very big seizure, and as a result now has lost some of the abilities she previously had. She now eats through a gastrostomy tube in her stomach and breathes through a tracheostomy in her neck, and has very limited movement in her arms, although she is working very hard in physical therapy to regain more movement. The most important thing that Dana wants people to know is that she understands everything going on around her. She communicates similarly to Logan with her eyes, but last year she received her own communication device, similar to an iPad, which she operates with switches on both sides of her head. Dana's mom makes sure that people are aware that Dana understands everything people say, even though she cannot usually participate in a conversation. When she's away from home, her mom makes sure that people talk to her and not about her. Dana feels frustrated when people assume that just because she can't talk, she must not be able to comprehend what is going on around her. In fact, two things that I've learned about Dana is that she loves to listen in to other people's conversations, but she's also an excellent secret keeper. I love Dana with every fiber of my being, and she still considers me her Brenna, not her sister Haley's or her mom Janie's, but hers. Everyone is worthy and deserving of dignity. Dana's team and Logan's team, families, friends, teachers, and therapists are making sure of this every day in every way possible. My campers and my students and their families, even people that I meet in Walmart or see out in the community, are worthy and deserve dignity as well. They are people just as you and I, and have thoughts, feelings, hopes, and dreams to live their best possible lives for as long as they can. I would like to conclude with a poem that I found on the internet, written by Jenny Linsell, who has a physical disability and wants people to think before making comments. And just as an aside, she's British, so some of the terms she uses are a little different than ours. Some people can be so ignorant, but I know they're not to blame. They see me in a wheelchair and they say, "Oh, isn't that a shame?" I say, "Hello, I'm fine," but you don't know what to do. Just because I'm disabled, don't assume that my brain is too. Whenever you get stressed, you can walk along the beach. With no facilities for the disabled, to me, it's out of reach. I'd like to go on holidays, but I stay at home instead, because no matter where I go, I need a hoist to go to bed. My bowel and my bladder are affected by my medication. It angers me when disabled toilets have poor sanitation. On the bus, the driver puts down a ramp and I can hear you whinge. When your shopping trolley is in my way, and sometimes my wheels impinge. I wait at zebra crossings, and I know my green cross code. But the timing on the lights means I don't have time to cross the road. My legs may no longer work, but my brain power is perfect. So the next time you see me in town, please have some respect. If you'd like to know how I am, don't be afraid to ask. My disability isn't catching, and it isn't a difficult task. I'll tell you how I am, and I'll ask how you are too. Overlook my disability. It isn't hard to do. Amen.
Thank you, Brenna. It's lovely. And to end that, I'd like you to please join me in saying this prayer together, written by Reverend Kate Braystrip. As soon as the slide changes, we will start. May love and strength be in my hands. May love and courage be in my heart. May love and wisdom be in my mind. May love be with me and work through me today and in all my days. Amen. The Share the Plate recipient for July is the Oregon Black Pioneers, an organization based here in Salem that researches and provides education, including exhibits at the Portland Historical Society in Portland, regarding the history of Black pioneers who came to Oregon, their struggles and their successes. As Braddock L. Lovely said, "Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream." So please donate to the Share the Plate recipient for the month of July, in addition to our regular support of the Marion Polk Food Share. You may do so by visiting our website to donate, or if you're here in person, as you are leaving, there will be baskets near the front of the door. Thank you for maintaining the community of UUCS as well as the wider community of Salem.
The sea violet is scented on its stalk, the sea violet, fragile as agate, lies fronting all the wind among the torn shells on the sandbank. The greater blue Your grasp is frail on the edge of the sand hill, but you catch the light. Frost, a star, edged with its fire.
We take the light of our chalice, lighting the social justice candle, as a symbolic reminder of the light and justice we carry out into the world. As we extinguish the chalices, let us remember these words by Duke T. Gray. The blessing of truth be upon us. The power of love direct us and sustain us. And may the peace of this community preserve our going out and our coming in from this time forward until we meet again. So thank you for continuing to register to come to Sunday services. I understand there might have been some little problem with the form this week. I apologize for that. We will try to figure that out and see if there's a better system to do this. It was great. So, fellowship, the Zoom fellowships is not happening at the moment, but the in-person fellowship is happening still, and it's happening as you leave the door. If you're here, just veer to the left. And there's a nice large room there with some tables and chairs set up, as well as some chairs set out in the lovely patio over here, which I call the Buddha patio. I don't know if anyone else does, but that's what I call that. So please be sure and do that. So connections groups coming up in September, time to register. You should now be able to go on the website and fill out the form. There are 5 times this year. You can see there's both a couple of morning times, a late afternoon time, and a couple of evening times. So I please hope that you join a group. That'd be lovely. And then the other bit of news is that the women's group, that's been meeting on Zoom, is going to not meet this month or August, but will continue in September as well. And just so you know that the building is open to meetings and to groups, so if you have something in mind, please check out how to get that on the calendar and make sure everything is okay for your group. And that is about it. Thanks so much.
Our closing hymn today is The Lone Wild Bird. It's number 15 in the gray hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit. The lone wild bird in lofty flight is still with thee, nor leaves thy sight. And I am thine, I rest in thee. Great Spirit, come and rest in me. The ends of earth are in thy hand, the seas dark, deep, and far off land. And I am thine, I rest in thee. Great Spirit, come and rest in me.
Please join hands in spirit or in person and say these closing words together. May faith in the spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come.